Hello, I'm Dr. Lance Morris, and welcome to my weekly YouTube channel. This is number 25 of a sequential series. I say that every time because I just want to remind my audience that this sequence, there's been one per week for the last 25 weeks, are linked together. That particularly in the more recent videos, I leave you kind of hanging and it goes to the next. So for example, today when I start, if you haven't watched the one previous to this, you're gonna not be oriented properly. So I encourage people to watch it in a sequential order. It will have more meaning, make more sense. So I recognized that the space I was in was very powerful. So I immediately came to the conclusion that I must sever any link to power to fully embrace love. I made a very diligent and conscious effort to avoid anything I construed as power, in particular control or manipulation. I deemed the psychic link and information stream I experienced with the band members of Marshall Tucker Band in my dorm room in Alaska a link with power. Although I continued to vigorously pursue spiritual teachings and personal discipline, particularly the use of mantra, I was diligent in avoiding using mantra with either canned or live music to actively block what I thought could be a potential psychic power link. Approximately 20 years later, I had a virtually parallel experience as the one that had occurred during college. In the middle of this experience, the universe gently informed me that I had previously been mistaken in my adamant stance of what I thought power was and my dogmatic avoidance of it. You see, love is the greatest power of all. Of course, now I understood. This opened a door for me to revisit and now enhance and refine this very specific tool using mantra with music, whether live or canned, to enter into an expanded state of consciousness now guided by love. So let's go back to my sophomore year of college. The totality of my personal studies and life experience suddenly brought into sharp focus for me 3 paths. Like my 5 principles, here was the second part of what would ultimately become a triad. The first path is the path of what I call white magic. Let me give you my definition so as to crystallize the image. White magic is projecting a presumed positive outcome either for yourself or for others. I say presumed because depending on your linguistic, familial, social, cultural, religious, and political indoctrination, what you presume is positive may not be the same as someone else. We live in a relative universe. As individuals, the way we see it, feel it, think it, and believe it is the way it is for us. Our worldview and perception is reinforced through consensual validation. This is when 2 or more separate individuals agree on observed events or perceived reality. Is there a proverbial golden thread of truth that links all religions, teachings, spiritual paths, and philosophies? Although, yes, even this thread may have some variability in our relative universe. It has been said that prayer is beseeching the divine for a positive outcome, either for self or for others. While meditation is listening to the divine. Meditation is a state of reception, not projection. Based on my definition of white magic, prayer, as most commonly used, is a form of white magic. The second path is the path of black magic. My definition of black magic is in direct contrast to white magic. The projection of a presumed negative outcome either for yourself or others. The reason it is presumed is due to the same influences as in white magic. For most humans, we are actively switching between white and black magic all day long. We do this so naturally and spontaneously that we are often not aware that we're doing it. If we are aware, we usually feel it is a normal part of the human condition and totally justified. Let's look at some simple examples of white and black magic. When you flip off the driver that just cut you off in traffic, that's black magic. When you wish a friend or family member to have a nice day, that's white magic. When you're thinking or talking about a child that has a consistent pattern of making poor life choices, and you are reflecting on their future, and you say, oh, he or she is really going to mess that up, that's black magic. Now, in this case, we usually justify our negative projection on said person based on our historical observation of their behavior. If that's what they've done in the past, it's likely to be what they'll do in the future. This seems reasonable and just following a trend to its seemingly logical conclusion. The fact is, the future hasn't happened yet. And projecting a negative outcome on anybody ever, despite the so-called evidence to support a negative projection, is still black magic. What is important to remember here is the law of cause and effect. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Let's look at this in the context of the polarized universe in which we live. Everything can be identified as having a positive or a negative charge. Positive is not a synonym for good, and negative is not a synonym for evil. We need to think about charge like we think about electricity. Electricity has a positive and a negative charge. The charge in electricity is neither good nor bad, it's merely a charge. This characteristic of having charge is inherent in a polarized universe. And that's where we live in our bodies, in a polarized universe. Another way of looking at polarity is the Oriental concept of yin and yang. That which is yin has an expansive quality, and that which is yang has a contractive quality. Everything in the physical universe is either expanding or contracting. A seed is fertilized, it expands, grows to full maturity, then it slowly contracts to shrivel and die. This is true of all plants, animals, humans, planets, stars, solar systems, galaxies, and the universe. Expansion, or yin, carries a negative charge, while contraction, or yang, carries a positive charge. These are reflections of polarity and have nothing to do with the human constructs of good and evil. Next week, we will talk about the third path, the neutral path. Please subscribe, like, and share. Until next week.